Over the last couple of weeks, I have gone through a very weird and bizarre journey, beginning first and foremost with RP cards from Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel monsters, playing on Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, to police reports and unsolved criminal cases that are over 25 years old. I have felt unsafe and in danger, and if anything of that sort of graphic nature, violence, or something like that disturbs you or makes you feel in any way uncomfortable, then be warned, perhaps this video may not be for you. There's a lot to break down, so before you get into the comment section and before you click off, I do want you to understand that if you are going to watch this video, then please make sure you watch to the end, because it's important that you get the full picture of what's going on here, since there is a lot to break down and dissect, and there's just so many moving parts of this story that I'm about to share. Alright, well, you've been warned, and without further ado, let's begin. Our journey started, again, a couple of weeks ago, and this was late at night. Normally, this is when I get to sit down once the family is asleep, some quiet, some peace, and I can just work away on YouTube scripts and stuff like that. And what I was doing at specifically this time was I was working on a collab for another YouTube channel, and I was designing this like harpy combo around a equip card. And from that point on, it's led me down this really strange path. So at some point, I get to a game state where I summon the monster Harpy Lady number 2. Now, I equip the black pendant onto Harpy Lady 2, and the defeated screen shows up on my computer. I don't know, I don't really think too much of it. But the thing is, it happened again. For a second time, not in a row, but very quickly thereafter, I summoned the Harpy Lady 2, and with this exact interaction, when I equip the black pendant onto the Harpy Lady, I instantly surrender. Now, I'm perked up at this point, like, okay, this can't be a coincidence, because the time is 1:27 a.m., and I have equipped this monster with a black pendant, and I get a disconnect, a surrender. It specifically lists defeat. So what I end up doing is I get out my phone. Once more, again, I disconnected. Now, I don't know if it's like a pure coincidence, but we're talking like 20 minutes plus or minus from the previous night when this has happened. This occurred at 1:42 in the morning, and I do not think this is a coincidence at this point. Between this specific time frame, which will be relevant later, I'm having an issue with Master Duel Harpy Lady number 2 and Black Pendant. As I go to bed, I wake up the next morning, and I check my phone on the Monday morning after that this occurred, and I have an email. I have an email which I find very bizarre, because this is not my personal email. This is not my business email, my contact for my YouTube channel or anything like that. I have a different email that I use specifically for my Steam account, which is odd, because that's not something I use for anything other than logging into Master Duel. And so this Steam account email popped up a notification on my phone, and I get a email without a subject line. It's just completely empty, and the sender is just a bunch of numbers and letters. We're talking like, 10 random characters. I don't know what that means, and the domain name is at mail.com, which is a free-to-use throwaway email account creating service that I've personally used myself to use to make multiple different Master Duel accounts and stuff for different challenges and stuff like that. And I'm finding it really odd, because I don't see a pattern in the name or anything, and I don't understand the body of the text, because it's just 2 kanji characters that I end up later Google translating. And it was really weird, because I double checked with a friend, with people in my Discord, the community, and that translation was just stop. Nothing else. There was no attachment. There was no sign off on the email. It just said stop. And so, because I know that this is not a coincidence, it has to be related to what was going on in Master Duel, I decide to ask an expert for some information.
Hello, my name is Totagon. I've been working on video games for the past 5 years now. I think we're actually going on to 6. So it's been quite a while working on video games, and it's definitely been a very fun experience. But I heard that you had some questions that were specific towards me.
Yeah, you're a software engineer, so you know all about the tech stuff, right?
Yep. Been working on that side for quite a while.
I want to find out if someone working on the game can find a specific interaction. Let's say I'm a software engineer at the office and I want to know if anyone ever does X play, can I get a notification for it? If I summon a Harpy Lady number 2 and I equip it with Black Pendant, I want something to go off and email me on the company email or whatever and tell me that this happened. Is that possible?
Oh, yeah. Within the industry too, especially just for bug testing on that side as well. Sometimes if you want to be notified about something specific, you'll look for a specific event. We call it telemetry as well, in terms of just checking if something specific happened. I think, I don't know if you've seen things like Overwatch, where they'll do like the end of year wrap ups where they kind of give you a lot of data. A lot of that data on like what you've been playing, how long you've been playing, who you like, what map you've been playing the most on. A lot of that data is just recorded telemetry based on what you were playing. So we try as best we can to grab as much data as we can of situations, of things like that, just because it helps give us a good sense of, balance and things like that. So yeah, it's definitely entirely possible that if someone
and could you
wanted,
filter it down
a specific
to be really
event,
specific, to be like,
yeah,
okay, at 3:27 a.m. on Thursdays, if someone summons a tour guide on turn 9, let me know. Bring up an alarm or something. Yeah. You can do that?
Yeah, we can totally do that. It's all within data, and I think especially within something like Yu-Gi-Oh, where a lot of it can be logged out. I'm pretty sure the logs are somewhere and your duel history is somewhere, and they can easily go and look at the details of, random duel X that is on your account. I'm sure it's somewhere stored in data somewhere. It's beneficial for them to do that in the long run.
From here, I don't really know where to go. I'm searching multiple different bug reports. I'm looking through Steam archives on the actual forum for reviews and stuff, and I'm keyword searching Black Pendant and Harpy Lady. And other than, weird goonbait references and stuff like that about the Harpy Ladies, there's really nothing there with regards to a specific interaction between these two cards, which had me thinking, well, why would that ever be something that someone would report? Because that is a very specific interaction of cards. Harpy Lady number 2 equipped with Black Pendant, that's not exactly a real-life game situation you would find yourself in, like Ash Chained by Maxi, as an example, right? A more common interaction that would happen fairly often. So this has to be very specific. And so after giving up basically on finding a bug related to these two cards, I then proceed to, I guess, get a bit more esoteric. I start searching up Black Pendant lore. I start searching up the history of the card, if there's any relevant trivia related to the Black Pendant, and there's basically nothing. Now, one thing that I did notice about the Black Pendant was that it has a life point cost, or does damage, really, I guess, is how the card works, and I guess I developed this strange idea that what if it's something to do with physical damage, right? And so I'm starting to look for things outside of Yu-Gi-Oh! I start to search for Black Pendants in history, famous, artifacts or jewelry, and nothing really specific comes up, but what I'm looking into is medieval English history. During the Victorian age, Black Pendants were a type of jewelry that were used specifically and encouraged by the rich and aristocrats at the time to wear at funerals. And they represent mourning, they represent death. What I end up doing is I do image searches of Harpy Lady number 2. I'm doing a reverse search, and I'm putting Harpy Lady's artwork through the multiple different search engines to see if anything specific comes up, and naturally, that doesn't amount to anything other than just a plethora of Yu-Gi-Oh! Articles and websites and stuff like that, and I guess I try and focus on the most iconic thing about Harpy Lady number 2, which to me was the hairstyle. So I crop out Harpy Lady 2's hair from the art specifically, and I just try and focus in on that, maybe in some sort of weird attempt at tricking the search function to avoid Yugioh, but maybe just kind of keep this hairstyle. And, well, I end up finding a specific character, a specific real person. Now, after narrowing the search down to very specifically 90s, 2000s Japanese, like, kind of pop culture, entertainment, that kind of, industry, I eventually land on a person called Keiko Suzuki. Now, the biggest standout thing about this was the hair isn't completely perfect, but it is quite a specific color. This ginger hair with kind of like the bangs going on is, I suppose, to some extent, reminiscent of Harpy Lady number 2. So I start looking deeper into the story of Keiko Suzuki, and it turns out that she is the lead singer of a band called Orakamano no Tsumi, which roughly translates to, I guess, something like Foolish Sins or The Sins of the Fools or something like that. And I guess I'm not really getting anything from that, but as I look more and more deeper into her history and her as a person, there are weird things that start showing up. And if there was ever a time to, again, heed the warning that I made at the start of the video, this is where things get a little bit weird, and you might want to brace yourself. Now, this band wasn't, like, popular. This is a very niche genre. It's kind of like in this underground music scene in Japan, and there's not a lot of information on this. These aren't exactly headliners. These aren't exactly, world-renowned pop stars or something like that. This is a really specific type of genre, and as I'm looking through blogspot posts and different Japanese blog sites and something called batsu.org and monochrome heaven, through multiple different like weird translations, I basically come to the conclusion that this band had died out at some point. There was a point, and I think somewhere around about the summer in 2001, where they just kind of fall off the face of the earth and disappear. But I'm like really scratching my head at this point, right? Like, is this really it's a big stretch to even link the two together, but one really, really weird thing that stood out to me was there was multiple different police reports submitted by Keiko Suzuki. Now, apparently, there is a very specific Japanese law that states that police files or cases that involve someone that is no longer reachable or around, that their cases become public record and public domain after X number of years. And at this point, it's been over 20. And so I'm finding, we're talking like upwards of 10 police reports submitted by Keiko Suzuki about a stalker. And reading through the image translations provided by Google, I basically come to the conclusion that this person was coming to her work, showing up unannounced. Apparently, there were sightings at like various sites of public transport that she was using. Not 100% sure if it was him, but like all sort of instances of her life for the next few weeks is just like this weird deranged fan, I guess, that must be stalking her because, well, you know how it goes. So I'm looking through more of these archives, and eventually it reaches a dead end where I notice that when I'm searching for reports submitted by Keiko Suzuki, not reports featuring Keiko Suzuki. And what this means is that I've been basically casting a net into a specific pond when I should be looking at the ocean here. Because what I find is Keiko Suzuki has a missing persons report filed about her. Now get this, the missing persons report was filed on March 23rd between the hours of 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. All I can think about is how the Harpy Lady Black Pendant interaction did not work when I got up in the morning to film the video, but it worked at the evening. And you can see very clearly in this report, this picture of Keiko has that notorious ginger hairstyle. And so that's the only thing I can think about and relate these two between. This goes even further because later that year, on June 7th, there is a report filed stating that her body had been recovered from a parking lot. And the autopsy report mentions different items retrieved from her body. A pack of cigarettes, a purse, but also a black pendant. You know that feeling when you are experiencing complete and total dread and you freeze up and you are so confused as to what to even do or say or think? Like, that's exactly how I'm feeling in this moment. I mean, the Harpy Lady 2 reference with the hair, the black pendant, and the missing persons report, it all starts coming together, and I think that this is what ended up being the case. I think that the black pendant and Harpy Lady 2 Yu-Gi-Oh cards, from what I uncovered and found over the last month of research, non-stop Googling, are potentially the last remaining references and remnants of a quarter-century long conspiracy that I have reason to now believe has been caught and found. Because do you remember that creepy email that I got earlier? Well, I end up receiving a package in the mail with very clearly labeled Japanese characters on the packaging, through customs or whatever shipment and this was imported from.
What is that?
It's just a note.
What?